Welcome to my brand new series, DIY Garage, and in this YouTube series, I'll be teaching you how to undertake things from car servicing, suspension upgrades, through to engine builds and fully fledged race cars and more. Though before we do any of that, we need to make sure that we have the right tools in our garage, shed, or wherever we are working. So let's dive right in. These are the topics I'll be covering in today's video, and the order they'll be covered in. Yes, brands and what brand is best is last because it's a semi-controversial topic, some would say. Toolboxes and toolkits. What do you buy? What do you start with? And what's an overkill? Well, I'm going to run through all your potential options and then, well, what you should get. In front of me right here is a small 55-piece socket set kit, which also comes with screwdrivers and spanners. I'll open it up so you guys can see. I have had this kit for quite a while, and it has been through the ringer, to say the least. A step up from just your basic socket set. As you can see, it has a ratchet, it's got combination pliers, a shifter, an extension, your spark plug sockets, a wobble adapter, and you have some 1/4 to 1/2 inch and 3/8 to 1/4 adapters, along with your imperial and metric sockets. If you don't know what imperial and metric is, I'll touch on that in a moment. Then over here you have your spanners, both again imperial and metric, and some Phillips and flathead screwdrivers. As you can see, I'm missing one. That's what happens over time when you own toolkits like this. This one here will probably set you back around $150-ish. Whether they make this specific one still, I'm not too sure. I've had it for over 5 years. But it's fantastic. Moving up from here is this Tool Pro X Mechanics Kit. Now, this one, yes, it's a bit more expensive, but you get a lot more in it. Let's have a look. Has lots of latches as well. Let's start with the ratchets. We now have 2 ratchets. One is a 1/2 inch drive, one is a 1/4 drive. Moving from the ratchets, you can see there are a lot more sockets. This one goes up to 32 mil, along with having smaller sizes as well. Moving to the spanners, as you can see on the Imperial side, there isn't as many. That's because nowadays Imperial isn't as common. However, moving to the metric side, as you can see compared to the King Chrome one, the smaller one, this has consecutive sizing from 8 all the way through to 19, where the one before had, I think it was 10, 12, 13, 14, 17, 19. It was missing a few sizes. Yes, they aren't as common. They usually put the most common sizes in those kits. However, there will come a day and a job where the size you don't have is the size you need. Moving across the other side, you can see that we have combination pliers, side cutters, pointy nose pliers, long nose pliers, whatever you want to call them, a shifter, and again, your general flathead and Phillips head screwdrivers. Moving further up from that, you can see that we have Allen keys as well. This is an awesome bonus. Allen keys, you're gonna find them somewhere on your car, or even some small stuff around your house as well. Over here as well, we have a 200 mil breaker bar and a extension. Actually, we have 2 extensions for that matter. Breaker bars are fantastic, especially for things that are really tight. You don't wanna be swinging off your ratchet because inside your ratchet, there's actually tiny little teeth, which makes that ratcheting sound. And the last thing you want to do is you're putting pressure on those teeth, because once you break 1 or 2 of those, your ratchet's fucked and you can't use it. This kit's fantastic. I would recommend this over the King Chrome one, just because it has more in it. Yes, it is more expensive. This one is around $400 for those viewers who are not in Australia. Every price I give you is in Australian dollars. It's fantastic. It has everything you need, and it's all like kitted out so you can see if you've taken something out and it's missing. Moving up from that, you have cantilever toolboxes. Here's a Sig Chrome one that my dad has. Again, they come with sockets, they come with spanners, screwdrivers, and other tools. They're a bit heavier, maybe a little bit more awkward. And then moving up from that, you have smaller tool chests. Again, these are my dad's. He had them when he was an apprentice mechanic. Some of them lift up, so the drawers pull out. These are slightly smaller and in between your toolkit and your larger toolbox, which moving on to larger toolboxes, next to me is my King Chrome one. Again, I've had this since my apprentice days. It's served me well. One thing I personally like about it is the cupboard space. I think that's priceless when it comes to a toolbox. I would personally sacrifice a drawer or 2 for a cupboard space like that, because you can then put your toolkits, your oil, your grease, anything like that in. This one doesn't have the inserts where you have all your spanners neatly, lined and placed out. I personally like that. I think when it comes to toolboxes, this is one of those things where it's personal preference. I like to be able to set out my toolbox, having things in certain drawers whenever I want it. For example, the ground behind me, which I'll move on to in a minute, has a tape drawer. Like, who has a tape drawer? I wanted a drawer full of tape, so now I've got a drawer full of tape. However, the con, obviously, is I do it every time. So I'm looking for a spanner in the drawer full of spanners, and I spend like 30 seconds to a minute looking for it. If you have the foam inserts, you look, your spanner's there, you've got it, on your bike, off you go, back to working on what you're doing. The green one. This one I would say is, I'll call it Big Bess. Obviously it's not like those big hero ones like Snap-on have.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
This again has its own benefits. It has a cupboard space down the bottom. It has a lot of room up the top, which I personally prefer. And it even has holes where you can feed in cables. That's all I would say for toolboxes and toolkits. It comes down to what do you need it for? I guess where you live and how much space you have. But if you're just starting out, I would recommend that Tool Pro kit. It's fantastic. It'll have everything you need to do, honestly, a wide range of jobs. Next, hand tools. These are your basics. These are things that you will use every single day in every job you do. We touched on them a little bit with the toolkits, but now I'm going to go into more depth. First up is ratchets, sockets, and spanners. These are all measured in a unit of measurement called imperial and metric. Metric is in mils, imperial, also known as SAE, which is in fractions. Here's a list of automotive brands that use metric sizing and that use imperial sizing. Okay, let's start with sockets, and sockets are driven by ratchets. In front of me here, I have 3 ratchets. These are the 3 most common size ratchets you will use when working on light vehicle cars. This one in my hand here is 1/2 inch drive. The one down from it, this one here is 3/8 drive. And then the smallest one is 1/4 drive. As you can see in my hand here, it is easy to differentiate what size is what. Largest, 1/2 inch, smallest, 1/4, and in the middle, 3/8. While we're on the topic of sockets, I will go into the different kinds that you can get. We'll start with the impact sockets. Impact sockets are designed for rattle guns, and they traditionally come in black. In my right hand here is a deep impact socket, and on my left hand here is a shallow impact socket. Now, these come in a kit, again, imperial and metric. I've got both imperial and metric shallow sockets. My imperial set I have never used. If you're in America, you will probably be more likely to use them as more American vehicles come in imperial sizing. Moving up from that, here in my hand here, you just have, again, shallow sockets. But what I want to point out is the inside of the socket. As you can see here, this has 6 sides. It is a perfect hexagon. Whether if you compare it to this one out of the King Chrome set, this has 12 sides. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of these sockets. However, a point to note is hexagonal sockets compared to the multi-sided sockets are always going to grip onto the nut or bolt better, which reduces the chance of it slipping and rounding it off. So if you ever have one of those nuts or bolts that's slightly rounded and you're not sure, I would recommend steering clear of your multi-sided socket and going for your hexagonal one. Again, if you only have one of these, that's okay. It's just a recommendation. As you will see in the impact sockets, they only have 6 sides. Spanners, as you can see in front of me here, I have a few different kinds, but not all the kinds that exist. This one is a double ring spanner, combination spanner, ratchet spanner, pipe spanner, and a stubby. Now, again, they all serve their purpose. There are other ones you can get, like double open ender and banana spanners. Basically, a banana spanner is like a ring spanner, but in the shape of a banana. And then you have your double open ender, which is like this pipe spanner here, but just has your normal combination open end. Now, while I've got these 2 in my hand, as you can see, there is difference. These pipe spanners are designed for brake lines or hydraulic lines. And as you can see, this one here, it's more hexagonal, more, I guess you can say, designed like the shape of a nut or a bolt, whether this one isn't. This one will slip and slide around a bit more and can potentially round off, excuse me, round off the nut or the bolt, where this one here is perfectly hexagonal and will lock onto the nut or your hydraulic line and will not round it off. Highly recommend getting these. If you're doing any form of brake or clutch work, these will be a lifesaver. There's been many a times where I've tried to undo a hydraulic line with a normal open ender. Does not end well. Ratchet spanners, I've only recently acquired a set of these. Again, like anything imperial or metric, these, well, as their name sounds, they ratchet. I would buy a set of these before I bought a set of double open enders. Stubbies, it's in the name, they're short and they're stubby. These are great for tight little spots where a standard size spanner, obviously the 2 different sizes, but you get the gist, is too long to get into where you gotta go. A set of these I have, they're not consecutive. It's like 10, 13, 14, 17, but they do serve their purpose. A bonus kind of socket you can buy, which I do recommend, again, depending on the car you have, is an Allen key socket. Now, I don't actually own any, but I'm definitely getting some because I had fun trying to get the drive shaft off my Skyline the other day. Using an Allen key and a hammer is great, but not very efficient. The ones in my hand here are actually e-torque sockets. Now these would be good for European cars or more modern ones. Again, Allen key ones are the exact same. It's got a 3/8 drive, and then obviously on the top here is an Allen key. Before I move on, I had another thing I can tell you is with your spanners, sometimes you just can't get the right spanner and you have to make your own. Now, these ones are king chrome spanners, which I bent. One is a 12, one's a 10. I picked these sizes because they're the most common, especially on Japanese cars, and they have served their purpose. Sometimes this won't do it, sometimes your stubby won't do it, and sometimes your combination spanner won't do it. So sometimes you just gotta modify a spanner. Screwdrivers, I'm not gonna go too much into it. They're pretty straightforward. You have a Phillips head and you have a flat head. You have long ones, you have short ones. By long ones, check this out. Don't ask why I bought these. I have never used them. This one is, honestly, it's the size of my arm. Honestly, a good set of screwdrivers you can get for less than 50 bucks. Or they come in kits, but a kit you can get. This kit in Australia is very popular. As you can see, I have not used it. I bought it and have never opened it. I'm gonna open it for you right now. Look at that. Brand spanking new. So as you can see here, this one here is an electrician flathead screwdriver. It's insulated. And then you have all your flathead screwdrivers or your Phillips head screwdrivers. And then you have some tiny screwdrivers here. They are for like watches, all that kind of stuff. It's even got that, it's even got that brand new smell. Not even joking, this is over 8 years old. And it is going to go back in the box, in my toolbox, and not get used. Because you'll find over the years that you'll just buy tools and you may not use them, but they're always handy to have. This one here is the exact same setup as a Stanley one, but it's had a bit more use and it's missing a few of the screwdrivers. I recommend getting a kit like this. Even if you buy a toolkit that has screwdrivers in it, down the track, you're gonna wanna buy yourself one of these. Before I move on, as I mentioned before with the toolkits, is a breaker bar. This one is like 600 mil. Highly recommend getting this size breaker bar specifically. Fantastic for undoing or doing up wheel studs. Again, obviously don't give it too much oomph, but they're great for undoing really tight bolts. It's because they are very long and you get more leverage on what you're actually doing. These, you buy one of these, you buy a good quality one, you won't ever buy one again, obviously unless you lose it. But these, I'm telling you, are fantastic and a must have. Pliers, all you're going to really need is combination pliers, side cutters, and pointy nose pliers. As you can see here, these are the king chrome ones I have from back when I was an apprentice. These are bent pointy nose and these are cable cutters. These are for like electrical cable, all that kind of stuff. Probably more for electricians. I personally barely use these. Side cutters are going to be just as good. Cut cables, cable ties. That's honestly all you're really gonna need. Again, if you buy a toolkit that has pliers in it, what comes in that toolkit will be enough for starting out. Moving down here, as you can see, you have multi grips. These are again similar. You have big ones, you have small ones. I have a set of these from small to large. And shifters, they come in many sizes. This is the biggest size I have. This is 450 mil. You will not need a size shifter this big for your car. I bought it just because it was big and it was cool. This thing cost me 100 bucks. And this is the smallest one. As you can see, there's a bit of a difference. This one you'll use most standard size that comes in toolkits. I think it's 200 mil or 250 mil, like the one in my hand here. This you'll use, this will come in handy, and this will probably get you out of trouble, to be honest. This has a 35 mil capacity, like widening range, and this one, to give you perspective, has 60 mil. Again, you're not gonna use this. This is for like heavy diesel machinery kind of stuff. And it depends where you are in your journey through modifying cars or working on cars. It's, if you're starting out, again, what's in your kit is fine, but if you want to build your toolbox, go for it, man. Like seriously, I have every single size of shifter from small through to large. Do I need them? Do I use them? Not really, but they're handy to have, whether you need them or someone else does. Remember, if you lend your tools to someone, make sure you get them back. But starting out, 250 mil size shifter will be enough for what you need. And finally, we have Allen's keys. Allen keys, hex keys, whatever you want to call them. Again, imperial, metric, these are handy. This set here is the first set that I had. This one obviously has a few more. Yes, I'm missing one. Don't ask me where it went. I've got no idea. but just get a set of some kind. I guarantee you'll use them somewhere along the line. Power tools, these are very important and will make your life very easy when it comes to working on your car or anything around the garage, home, all that good stuff. Now, most people opt for battery power tools. It seems to be the way the world's going. And personally, they're just a lot more user-friendly. It's not like you're trying to lug around a cord or an air hose for that matter. They're basically the same thing. With a battery power tool, you can move it wherever you want, whether it's under your car, in your car, anywhere, and you don't need to worry about running cables or hoses. Now, these are the 4 tools I recommend starting off with. In front of me here, we have a power drill, cordless rattle gun, cordless angle grinder, and a torch. These are the 4 I recommend starting with. I'll show you a bonus one at the end. Drill, pretty straightforward. You want to drill holes in things, you want to screw things down, whether it's on your car, around your house, on your roof. And most drills like this come with a hammer function just as a bonus. And like most cordless power drills these days, or power tools, one battery fits all, which is a bonus. This technology came out years ago, but it's taken off. Next is the rattle gun, pretty straightforward. Again, they come battery powered or you can get them air powered. Both serve their purpose. Honestly, battery powered ones are the way to go. Easy to move around with. Quicker than doing it by hand with a spanner or a ratchet. However, I recommend always wearing ear protection with these. They might not seem loud, but over time you will damage your hearing. So for the love of God, please just wear earmuffs when you use these. Next, cordless angle grinder. Again, these come corded, cordless, some air driven, but I recommend cordless. These have a million uses. You can cut things, grind things, cut timber, cut plastic, cut ceramic, tiling, in your house, in your backyard, in your garage, in your shed. Everyone must have one of these. They are a must. Buy yourself an angle grinder. This one is 125 mil. Anything bigger than this is 9-inch. Do not buy those things. They're fucking dangerous. Must have, seriously. Get yourself a grinder. Torch, straightforward. Cars are dark, garages are dark. You want to be able to see stuff. This one's cool. It's got a torch function and then you've got a lantern function. I actually prefer this mode more. It's just disperses the light and more indirectly so you can see more what you're doing. And it has an SOS function in case you get lost. Bonus tool is an inflator. However, an alternative to this, which I would recommend getting the alternative or both, whatever tickles your pickle, is an air compressor. Air compressors are a must, I believe, because you can use a rattle gun, you can use a sander, you've got an air blower. These are the power tools I recommend getting: corded or cordless drill, rattle gun, angle grinder, and a torch. Specialty tools, now some of the ones laid out in front of me, you may not agree with being specialty tools, but they're here nonetheless and you should have them. First up, torque wrench. There are 2 different kinds. This one is where the torque is adjusted in the handle. The other one is on a bar which slides up and down. I recommend getting that one. The disadvantage with one of these is as you're holding it to twist, you may accidentally move your torque settings. And if you're doing something like head studs, you do not want to fuck that up. Next, multimeter. Get one. These are a must. They will save you a lot of money and time. Even a cheap one, like this one's 40 Australian dollars, Tool Pro, fantastic. I used it the other day to test the alternator output and voltage drop on the Yaris. I have a video of how to do that coming soon. Maybe it's a parasitic leak, you can do it with this. You want to test your alternator charge, do it with this. How much charge in your battery, do it with this. Why is your car not starting, do it with this. Just get one. Oil filter remover, as you can see, I have 3 different kinds. The one kind I barely used and I probably don't recommend buying is these ones. Half the time, most of the time, the oil filter is in some fucked up position where you can't even get this in there, so don't worry about it. Moving on to these 2. This one I've used the most, Jaws, Claws, or whatever you want to call it. Different brands have different designs, but they're pretty similar. Definitely get one of these. You can put an extension on them. This one's a 3/8 drive. 3/8 drive? 3/8 drive. Put extension on it for hard to get places. The next one is this one. Again, it's extendable like multi-grips and you can just hook it on and twist your oil filter. These 2 I recommend getting. Honestly, get both. I guarantee you'll use one or the other or both. The other one, don't worry about it. Some will argue this is not a specialty tool, but I beg to differ. Pry bar. You will use this, whether it's prying off a subframe as you're trying to take it out, checking board joints, anything, you will use it. And if you don't have one, I guarantee you'll need one. This one's probably like, I think 30, 40 Australian dollars. Buy them, they're fantastic. Or just get a big fucking screwdriver. I call this a brake bleeder kit. They don't actually come in this kit, which is these items here. Don't worry about this. First, I will run through the brake clamps. Now, this is one of the brake clamps. I personally not a fan. However, you can use this to hold up spark plug leads so you don't get zapped. I've been zapped before and it is not fun, especially when your foot is the first thing to earth you out. Use these for brake clamps. No. Lifting up things that are electric, yes. These best brake clamps you can get. They're fantastic. Hydraulic lines, clutch lines, brake lines. Use these because you can squish them down as tight as you want. And they usually come in a pack of 2. Ooh, that was a good catch. Buy 4, buy 8, doesn't matter. I think I've got 8 of them. They're like 10 bucks. Go and buy them. These will change your life. And then you need something to bleed it into, which this little fella here is what I have. Again, I've had this since I was back in the apprentice, probably 10 years old. This goes on your brake bleeder, and obviously the brake fluid goes in here. It's got a little air out spot here, and always make sure you empty it, doesn't overflow. Because remember, brake fluid is hygroscopic, so it absorbs water. This is a brake spoon. No, you cannot eat your breakfast with it. No, it wouldn't work very well. This is so you can adjust your handbrake on the front or the rotor or the back of the backing plate of the brakes. There is a little gear which you can flick up and down, which will loosen or tighten your handbrake. Highly recommend one of these, especially if you're working on a car that has drum brakes. That is also how you adjust them, as a handbrake is basically a drum brake. This is what I would call my brake bleeding kit. Get yourself 4 clamps, a brake spoon, and something to catch the fluid in. Look, you don't have to get this. You can just get a bottle and a bit of vacuum hose, and Bob's your uncle, away you go. But this is like 10 bucks, just go buy it. Next, we have a trim remover set. Now, they come in all glorious shapes and sizes. Yes, one of these has sandpaper on it. Because remember, just because the tool is for one purpose doesn't mean you cannot use it for another. These are for getting off those little plastic clips, door trims, anything to do with the trim. The reason why these are better is they are not metal. Yes, you can use a screwdriver, but you have a higher chance of scratching it and denting it. Look, trim remover kit, probably around $10 to $20, if that. Buy them. I have 2 sets just because they break. Exhibit A, they break because obviously you force them too much or you use them on things that you shouldn't. Next is a compression tester. Now, this measures the cylinder compression of your engine. I used it on my Skyline the other day. I have a video coming out on how to use these. This is so maybe you've drained some questionable oil from your car, maybe you've got oil in your water, or maybe just something funky is going on, like you got rust in your spark plugs and you think you may have a compression problem. This is where these come in. Very simple to use. Video coming out soon. I'll show you how to do it. And a must. Look, this is probably 80 bucks. This is not essential to start out, but I do recommend getting it. I wouldn't say this is advanced. This is pretty simple to use, but it's not a must, but it's just like a bonus. What is a must? Well, I think so. Drain pans, drip trays, whatever you want to call them. Catch oil, or if you've got a piece of shit project car and it leaks oil, stop it from going on your concrete. Again, a solution to this is cut open a milk bottle or something to that effect. But if you want something that's done a bit neater and purpose built for it, buy one of these. Look, I got 2 of these together, like 15 bucks, just cheap. Cheap as chips, as they say. Can't believe I almost forgot this. Tape measure. Just buy one. You know what they're for. You measure shit. Measuring with your hand or your fingers is not gonna work. Buy a tape measure. Followed by that, vernier calipers, whatever you want to call them. Not a must, but a nice to have. You can measure the inside of things, the outside of things. I've only used these probably a handful of times in my life, but my fabricator was over the other day for stuff I'll be doing to my Time Attack Skyline, and he used them. Nice to have, must have. Workshop tools, garage tools, whatever you want to call them. These are a must, and obviously we'll start with the simple ones. Jack stands. When you're working on a car and you jack it up, do not rely on the jack. Always use jack stands. Safety is important, seriously. No one wants to get killed by a fucking car. Next is your trolley jack. This one is a low profile jack. It is 1.6 ton. I use a lot in my Skyline because it is lowered. You can get bigger ones, you can get smaller ones. Scissor jack comes in your cars, don't use those. They're pieces of shit and they're very dangerous. Get yourself a good trolley jack. Same with bottle jacks, don't use them. Bottle jacks are like the old scissor jack from older cars. Get yourself a good quality trolley jack. and jack stands. Now, these ones are rated for 2 ton. They usually come in a pair. Get 4, minimum, get 4. And if your car is, let's just say your car's 2 ton and they have ones for 1 ton, always get the size up. There's no harm in having a jack stand that is being used for something that weighs less than what it has capacity for, okay? Usually they're like an extra 10 or 20 bucks. Is your life worth 10 or $20? No, it's not. It's worth more. So get yourself better quality jack stands. These ones are great. I actually have 8 jack stands, 4 of which are being used 24/7 by my Skyline. So like I said, minimum of 4. Next is a workbench. Yes, the ones you buy from retail stores, they're okay. But honestly, something that has a bit more oomph, a bit stronger is what you need, especially one with an inbuilt vise, because some things need a good beating. I've got to mention this before, but get yourself a good 4-pound hammer, 10-pound hammer, something like this for bashing cars if they annoy you. No, don't do that. But ball joints, all that kind of good stuff. You will always use a hammer. Remember, to create, one must first destroy. Next, this is not necessary but a nicety, and it's a creeper. Now this is to go under your car, move around with ease and obviously in comfort. If you have one, sweet. If you want to get one, awesome. But a good solution or substitute for that is get yourself some carpet underlay. Honestly, roll it out under your car so you know you're not going to get dirty. And if you're working on your car and it drips oil or you spill oil, it's not going to go on your concrete or on your garage floor, shed floor. It's going to get absorbed by the carpet underlay. It's cheap. Get some offcuts from your local store for free or like 10 bucks. But if you want to buy a creeper, go for gold, get one. I've got one over there, still in the box. As you can see, I don't use it. Get them if you want, but I reckon carpet underlay is just as good. I touched on it before, air compressor. So you don't have to get a fancy one. You can get a good quality one for around $200-300, even less. Obviously it's smaller, but depends on your application. I recommend spending a couple of $100, $200-300 to buy a good air compressor. It might seem expensive up front, but it'll last you a lot longer because you don't want to buy a small one and be like, hey, I want to paint my car or do something else and it can't handle it. Next one is a garage or workshop vacuum cleaner. Get a cheap one from Super Cheap or a retail store of some kind. Doesn't have to be fancy, just something enough to suck up some mess. Of course, in a garage or a shed, you are going to make a mess, and the last thing you want to do is have a dirty environment that you're working in. Finally, safety gear. Yes, a lot of you pay it off and a lot of you shouldn't. For the love of God, just use it. No one cares if you look dumb. Your safety is honestly more important than what someone thinks. You have gloves. These are just normal plastic nitrile gloves, latex gloves like they use in hospitals. Again, protect your hands, also keep them clean because over time you will get grease and oil ingrained in your skin, which you cannot get out. Guys I used to work with when I was an apprentice mechanic, they've been doing it for so long, the stuff just does not come out. Up from that, you have these polyurethane gloves, similar to latex gloves. I personally prefer these just because you have better fine motor skills. Up from that, you can just get general purpose gloves, but the disadvantage is you don't have as much pincer grip and fine motor skills that you do with your latex ones. Earmuffs, hearing protection. Look, get earmuffs or earplugs or use both. In the military, we use both because obviously guns are fucking loud. Use them. Oh, look, you look funny. I don't care. Your hearing is important. So is your eye protection. These are ballistics goggles. Get you some form of eye protection, whether it's goggles or glasses. Again, wear them. I'm going to say it and upset you. I'm sorry, I don't care. If you are using an angle grinder without eye protection, you're a fuckwit. Seriously, look after your eyes, especially if you get metal in your eyes. You might not notice it and you go for a CT scan, oops, you've just lost your eyesight. Following that, not as important, but if you're sanding or spray painting, especially spray painting, get yourself a good quality mask, or even if you're doing fiberglass work. Again, just don't pay it off. Come on guys, like just look after yourself. Because no one wants to have to finish your unfinished project car because you've died from fume inhalation, all right? But look, gloves, earmuffs, eye protection, mask. I'm not gonna keep harping on and be your mum or your dad about safety gear, but I'm trying to look out for you, okay? I want you guys to look after yourself. I don't want to get injured. And you've seen enough stuff on the internet of people getting fucked up and then people wearing eye protection and having, like, you know, angle grinder discs in their eye protection, like in their glasses. So please, I'm gonna shut up about it from now on. Just look after yourself, buy the equipment and wear it. These are tools that I've bought, haven't really used, and borderline a waste of money. This is open for discussion. There's heaps of tools out there. Just be careful not to buy gimmicky shit. Now, number one off the bat is this. This is supposed to be for removing tow bars, right? Special tow bar removal tool. What does it look like? A socket or a spanner. Use exactly that, or a shifter. T-bar, spark plug spanners, I haven't used them. And honestly, you can't get enough grip on them to actually undo tight spark plugs. And honestly, just get a small rattle gun with an extension and rattle them out. Again, be careful. I bought these, I haven't used them. Big shifter, touched on it earlier. I bought this just because it was big and cool, and honestly, I saw a big shifter in a movie once. I'm like, oh, that's cool, I want one. That is legit the reason why I bought this. You will not use a shifter this big on a light vehicle car unless you're using it as a hammer. I do not recommend doing that. That was $100 I could have saved, but hey, it's cool. And you're probably thinking, that's a cool shifter. This toolkit here, as you can see, well, is number one, it's rusty, that happens. Lots of different kinds of specialty tools. Now, these are fantastic. I recommend using these if you acquire them. I personally haven't used these. Look, you have an Allen key attachment, use Allen keys. You have a Phillips head attachment, use a Phillips head. Torques, use Torques. Again, they do serve their purpose depending on what line of work you're in, or maybe you have something a bit more specialized. You know, if you're working on small things and you need something really, really, really tiny, awesome. But I haven't really used this. It just, honestly, it sits in my toolbox and just collects dust and rust, as it seems. Tool brands, which one's better, which one's shit, which one should you buy? Honestly, it's a very controversial topic. It's like, what car brand's better? Actually, that's probably a bit of a stretch. I think a lot of it comes down to personal preference, your application, like, are you a weekend warrior? Are you a mechanic? Do you work on cars once a month, once a day, 4 times a day? And what's your budget? When I was an apprentice mechanic, I worked with King Chrome and Ryobi. King Chrome, because it was similar to Sig Chrome. My dad had Sig Chrome when he was a mechanic. I personally like King Chrome, that's why I got it. Ryobi, I used to work at Bunnings, okay? It wasn't expensive, it wasn't cheap, it was like in the middle, and they are the ones that first started the whole, you know, one battery fits all. I thought, cool, it works. Now I use King Chrome, I use Tool Pro, I use a range. Because number one, I work with Super Cheap and their brand's Tool Pro, and honestly, it's fantastic, it's really good stuff. You do have cheaper brands you can get from other retail stores like Bunnings and so on, or you can buy stuff off eBay or websites like Temu or AliExpress. The question with those is, yes, how good are they? But will they rust? Will they break? What's their durability? Because some things, you're gonna get a hammer, you're gonna start swinging on it, you're gonna start hitting it. And some of them will break. Like, it's usually the quality of the metal. Like cheaper brands, yeah, it says chrome vanadium, so does this, but it's the quality of it. It's like, okay, one tire's made of rubber, so is the other tire, but it's the quality of the rubber, right? Some of them you can swing off and they will just plain out snap, not even joking. But these are obviously better quality, it's better metal, and a good way to check is if you go to the shop and they're hanging up, like the sockets, bang them together. They should have a nice ring to them, good quality. And again, different countries have different brands. I'm here in Australia, in Sydney. What do I recommend? Look, honestly, I recommend Tool Pro, King Chrome, Sig Chrome, Stanley. They're good brands, you can't go wrong, and a lot of them have a lifetime warranty. And honestly, with good quality tools, I guarantee you're gonna lose them before you break them. It all comes down to personal preference. Maybe you like the color blue, so go King Chrome. Maybe you like the color red or green, so go Tool Pro. Like, if you get a good enough brand, they're gonna last you a long time. And sometimes brand doesn't matter. Like, I got unpopular opinion, it's gonna hurt some feelings, I don't care. Snap-on is a waste of money, it's overpriced, overrated, don't fucking buy it. Look, this from Snap-on is probably, I don't know, 150 bucks. You can buy the exact same thing at the same amount of quality, if not better, and it's gonna cost you way less. Snap-on is like, I don't know, fucking Gucci. Oh my God, I've got a Gucci bag. Oh, cool, man. I've got one from Big W that works as fucking well. But again, personal preference. If you like Snap-on, cool. And if you hate money, you must like Snap-on. That's all I have for you today. I hope this has been informative and somewhat helpful. Whether you're a seasoned professional or you're just starting out, these are the tools I recommend. Yes, there's probably some that I've missed or probably some that I've mentioned that you don't think you need. If you think so, tell me in the comments. I love to learn. I want people who are watching this to learn as well. That's why I make these videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be doing more DIY how-to videos. This is the first episode of DIY Garage, and you'll see a lot more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Call this rattle gun pretty fucking wrong way.